This is the Suplex Assassin MLW National Openweight Champion, as you see here, and I am here on the Three Count Podcast, and I mean one, two, three, Three Count Podcast, and we are about to get shit rolling. Let's go.
Weighing in at an unbelievable weight that you might hate, but you can't even
Dang, high
debate.
pass, we trying that drag ball that.
Well, right now, when you hear this kind of intro, you already know what that means, right? Because this is like our sixth episode we've done of it. But this is now entering 201, and I am your host, as always, Clifford Red Dawg Miller. That's right. You know, that guy that leads you up this mountain called wrestling, but it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. You see him right there. He is the Suplex Assassin, Alex Kane. He is your MLW National Open Weight Champion. And he wasn't when we first had him on the show. So to have him now with that title, I'm going to be honest, man. I watched you on MLW and I saw you win that title. I think like I had the biggest pop because I was like, holy shit, I know this guy. But thank you for coming back on the show, man. I'm definitely excited about this.
Dude, thank you for having me. A lot of people always, a lot of podcasts that I do, they're always like, "Oh yeah, we'll have you back on," and they never have me back on. So I'm thankful that you actually reached back out to have me back on,
dude. But
I had fun last time.
Hell yeah! And what's crazy though is that like, I remember like just finding you randomly like on TikTok, and then like we started chopping it up from there, and then like I've told people all the time now, and I was like, yo, like in his business, right? And this is something that like I've kind of learned and started kind of adapting and understanding and having like some cool mentors like tell me these kind of things. But you have people who like you'll have a lot of acquaintances. You won't have as many friends, but you'll have a lot of people on your team, but not necessarily a lot of people in your corner. And I've taken that to heart. Shout outs to O'Shea Edwards for passing that along to me. But you're one of those guys that I'm like, I genuinely know I can go back to and just be like, hey man, like, here's something that's like gone on. Like, how do you handle this situation, that situation, or how would you do this? Or, I know I can always come to you and to like ask for like some quick advice, and you've always got something there for me. So that's why I was like, yeah, this goes without a doubt. You got to come back on the show.
I've and that's what I try to be for everybody. Like I always tell the young guys at the A4, like if you ever have any questions, if you ever have any concerns, if you get into a situation that's kind of sticky, like I've probably been there. Because like at the beginning of my career, like I had a lot of like really really tense situations with like vets in Georgia. So like I've kind of learned how to navigate those things because at one point I had one guy saying like, "Oh, you need to learn how to lose," and at the time I was losing anyway. Like I didn't care. Like they were booking like now I look back on it now they were booking me pretty terribly. But like at the time I was like, I mean, I'm here to get experience, and try to like better myself as a wrestler and performer. So I was just like, I'm just going with the flow. I mean, I was told at the beginning of like my training, like wins and losses don't matter in wrestling, like unless it's like AEW or something. But that's because they established these things matter. But like on the indie scene, like nobody cares how many matches you've won. Like I don't even know how many matches I've won. The only way I would know is if I went on Cage Match or whatever, because they have almost every single match that I've ever had. But like that doesn't matter. Like if you can't get over despite winning, then you shouldn't be in the business. I think, or you need to like really go back to the drawing board and really figure some shit out. Um, because like it's not about the finish of the match. It's about what happens after the bell rings, and you guys wrestle or have your performance, however you want to put it. But that's what actually matters. Like but whether you win or lose, and it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It does matter as far as like stories and stuff go. Like my story right now, well, not right now, but the story that I had before with Calvin Tankman. Like it mattered that I was beating him and I was finding every which way to cheat, and get over on him. Like that's what matters. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter how many times I beat Calvin. He's still going to come back. It's still going to be written some way that he's going to get his redemption, and he will get his redemption, and probably will be awesome. Not awesome for me, but it'll be awesome.
No doubt. It's always one of those things though. Like I appreciate like it's funny because you mentioned something in there that I genuinely like. I love hearing about. Right? It's not about like whether you win or lose, but it's definitely matters. Like, well, I mean, and you mentioned like at AEW, it does matter at that point. But you mentioned that it doesn't really matter if you win or lose. It's just like how you make people feel, right? Like you're just
Hmm.
trying to get over. And if you need to win to get over, then clearly you're not doing your job well, which
Yeah.
is something that I've really kind of looked at and thought about because I've gotten over with people and I've lost. And I
Hmm.
just have people come talk to me all the time. Like I've had genuinely have people who are like, man, I really thought you were gonna win that match. You really had me thinking that you were gonna
Hmm.
win. And then, and then at that point you gotta kind of play it off like, hey man, like sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce in your favor, man. Like you were
Yeah.
never gonna win. But it's the
Hmm.
fact that you could take people on that kind of ride. And I've been fortunate to work with like a lot of cool veterans who like taught me how to like work the crowd and listen to them and understand like what's going on. And I'm still learning because I mean, obviously,
Hmm.
Rome wasn't built in over a day, but it's one of those things where you look back and you hear all the time from people that are like, "Man, you're doing great. Like, you just got to keep going at it. And you'll get there." And you're like,
Hmm. Yeah.
"What?
What does that mean?
What?
What are you talking about?
Where am I
Um,
going? Where can I go? What can I do? Like, how do I get to that spot?" Like,
I think, well, I guess what I've learned in, I guess, my journey or my kind of rise on the indies is like it's less about how many matches you have, and it's more about who you wrestle, who a booker puts you against. Like I had the privilege of wrestling O'Shea, wrestling Mads Kruger, or when he was Logan Creed, Tom Lawler. Um, Hammerstone, like all of these guys who like I look up to and that I respect. But I also love their work. Like they're really, really good in the ring. They know who they are. And in those situations, like whether you ask them questions, which are always open to ask questions, um, like when you're just in the ring with them and you're watching them sell or you're watching them move, or you're just watching them work or whatever, while as most of the time I'm a heel, so whether I'm beating the shit out of the guy or a baby face or whatever, I'm getting the shit beat out of me. But you're watching them work, and you're saying like, oh, okay, like they did this, oh snap, okay, that worked there or whatever, let me try that in my next match. Because what I do with all, especially if I have a really, really good match with somebody, like I'll take the structure of that match and I'll try to apply something from that structure to my next match, or I'll apply the entire thing to the next match that I have, plug and play with different people's stuff because not everybody does the same thing. But that's really helped me to like learn and apply things, and I think that's how I was able to get as good as I am right now, in this short amount of time. In 4 years doesn't sound like a short amount of time, but in this business it's a short amount of time because most guys have been working for like 10, 15 years. And when people tell me that, I'm like, I can't imagine.
it's one of those things for me where I look back and I'm just like, man, like, because I hear like the same kind of critiques and like I've been working on those things and like trying to build those up, right? So like one of my problems that I was having, and this was like in the first couple, this is the first like I don't know, I'll say 14 months, and it's, sometimes I still have that kind of issue and I still have to fix it. But I was quick to die in a match, right? So I was like, all right. Right, and I had to keep reminding myself, like, get up, throw a punch, get up, like, just keep getting up, like, just don't die like a fish. And then
Mhm,
suddenly pop up out of nowhere, like you're the second resurrection of Jesus, and you're like, I'm
mhm,
here, I'm about to
mhm,
hit. But it was one of those things where I was learning like how to work and sell and get the crowd kind of involved. And like in the last few matches that I've had, uh, I got to work with like TJ Sykes, right? Who's like starting to tear it up on the scenes. He's been doing it for 12 years, working with like Andino, right? Where I'm still learning like, hey man, we're gonna put this in this spot, that in that spot, and then sometimes you just cut out the last third of a match because the crowd is so hot for you already. So you're just
mhm.
like, why do we have to keep trying to build when we can just
Yeah,
end on the high note like you're
yeah.
supposed to?
Go home.
it's those things where I'm picking it up now, and I'm like, all right, cool, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, and so it's like now I'm starting to kind of understand like how to structure things and like
Hmm.
just to make sure I'm hearing the crowd right. And it's funny because like I've watched kids, they're like, man, I hear the crowd like get to this eruption, right? And we're sitting in the back, we're like, all right, take it home. And then there's just like 18 more moves. I'm like,
Hmm.
bruh, like,
Yeah,
why is this a thing?
uh, I don't see. I've always wondered, like, because you always hear like veterans say, like, "Oh, kids don't know how to work these days," yada yada yada. And I really want to know, like, where the disconnect happened between like I mean. I'll never say that somebody's not telling a story because every time you step into that ring, a story is being told. That's just my philosophy. Um, but I just want to know where the disconnect happened, where it was more. I mean, because I guess back in the day, less is more, but like now it's like guys think more is more. Like you got to do more. You got to do all the moves in the world. I just want to know where that disconnect happened because, like, I always tell guys, like, you don't. This is not. I mean, there's certain parts of wrestling that feel like a video game, and then there's other points in wrestling that don't. And like the part of wrestling where it doesn't need to be a video game is when it comes to like doing moves in a match. Like like man, sorry. You don't need like a move set of like 30 moves. Like you don't need it. That's not going to get you over. Like you need some things that are signature to you. I mean, it may take time to establish those things, but you all you need is some things that are signature to you. That every crowd that that you're in front of, or people that watch your content, seeing like, okay, that's what that guy does or whatever at that point in the match. So if I pull it out earlier or at another time that they're not used to seeing it, they're like, "Oh shit, the match is gonna end," or like, or something like that. So like you can kind of like trick people, but like if you do less, there's less to mess up. And then also if you do less, that gives you more time to breathe, that gives you more time to engage with the crowd and the people that are watching you. But if you're going 100 miles per hour, there's no time for one, people to digest what's going on, and two, there's no time to connect because it's just bang, 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 instead of being bang. Okay, some stuff, some stuff, some stuff. Oh, bang! Some stuff. Oh, bang! And then you go home.
Yeah, I just it's funny because you talk about like people having like 30 moves and stuff like that. I actually had somebody, it was weird having somebody come ask me advice because like I haven't been in this that long, but to have someone come, and they were younger than me, but in terms of like being in, but they were
Mhm.
like how do you like get over with the crowd? And I was like, dude, I do like 5 moves. That's it. I only know like 5, right?
Mhm.
We're talking suplex, right? A German suplex. We're talking like a Northern Lights one, uh, a shoulder block, a
Mhm.
clothesline, and maybe if I'm feeling froggy, a backflip, a moonsault off the second rope.
Mhm.
That's it. I was like, that's all I need. And because the rest of the time, it's just character work. Like I'm just in the crowd's face, like I'm interacting with the crowd, I'm having fun with those guys, and they are getting behind. And I was like, if you think like, man, I got to learn how to do like a 450 splash or like a lucha, a head scissor takeover, or I got to learn how to do like this Phoenix splash because that's what crowds want to see. No, not really. They really just want to have fun. And if you're not going to give that to them because you're like, oh, I'm not ready to talk to the crowd because I got to do this suplex first. Like, bro, like you're missing the whole point of entertainment.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I know a lot of suplexes, 100 suplexes or whatever, but I'm personally not trying unless a booker's like, "Oh yeah, we want you to throw 12 in this match or whatever." I'm gonna look at him like, "Really?" But then I'm gonna do that or whatever because that's what they want. But like generally, if there's no like I guess story behind how many I throw, then I'm gonna throw like 4 or 5 at the max, 6. Um, and like at the beginning, like when I first started, like it was like I gotta throw a bunch of them or whatever because that's cool. But like over time, you start to realize like you there's other people on the indies with suplex style gimmicks or whatever. Like I'm not naive. I know that they're out there. I've seen them. I've wrestled a few of them. But the thing that I do to set myself apart is as a suplex assassin, like really should only take one. And like that's what I'm getting into now. It should only take one. Probably still going to do more than one or whatever, but like the way that I play it off is like I'm trying to brutalize you. Like I'm not gonna cover you after three of them or whatever. I'm gonna brutalize you to the point, and then I'm gonna talk my shit because I'm the greatest hybrid wrestler to ever exist. Like and like that's what's helped me. Also, other people like Calvin on a I mean, outside of the ring, backstage type stuff. He's actually helped me with that, like working with him, because it's like I got to suplex because I was like at the beginning of the feud. I was like, I got to suplex you because that's my gimmick or whatever. And he's like, I mean, yeah, you do, but like, let's find a creative way to do it because I am 300 pounds. Um, and though him being 300 pounds isn't like a feat of me to suplex, of suplex guys bigger than him, it's like in those matches, like the suplexes that I did get on him meant so much more, and also allowed me to go into another bag of mine and pull out some other stuff that I would normally do. Like, the first show that we did in Texas, I think it was Mania weekend. I hit this man with a whole Stone Cold Stunner, like middle of the match, hit him with a stunner, just because it was like I got. I'm about to have fun with this if I'm not doing like my normal shtick. So I'm about to have some fun with this. Um, and then like I love the matches that I have where it's, oh, can he suplex him? So like I don't do any suplexes. I may attempt it or try to do it like earlier in the match or whatever, but it keeps getting reversed. So either they do something to me or I have to do something else. And then when it comes end of the match and people are like, we need a suplex, we need a suplex, and I finally hit it, they fucking blow their load, and then we're all good there. Um, or I'm wrestling somebody smaller than me, and it's like, how far can this man throw him?
I like that. It is crazy to think about like that because you said it right. Like you know the guys who have like that suplex moniker. They're like, I'm the suplex god, or I'm the suplex man, or whatever. Like there's everybody, but you gotta set yourself differently from everybody. And it's one of those things where I'm looking at myself too, uh like there's a million guys out there who have like the military or the mercenary type or like
Hmm.
the assassin right type gimmick. And I'm like, how can I make my guy different? And I was like, every time I look around, I see all these dudes with these like serious personas, and they're always like, "Yeah, this is who I am. I'm the stoic type. Like, I'm Clint Eastwood every time staring at the sun." And I'm like, bro, I'm not that guy.
Yeah,
It's like
like
I'm just gonna talk trash really loud and be super comedic with everything I'm doing and just see like how far this takes me. And I like the aspect of like having to set yourself up because I feel like people start to notice that and they're like, I kind of need that guy on my show because he's 100% different from like everybody else.
that's the biggest thing. It's like you can be super athletic, you can do all the dives and stuff, but if a booker has 12 guys that do the same thing that you do and you don't do it better than those 12 guys, then like there's no reason to book you. Um, I mean, unless I want to have a gauntlet match of all the high flyers, then sure, we'll do that. But like, I mean, past like all the politics stuff and all that nonsense, but like at the core of it, you have to present something that a show doesn't already have. And like that's the biggest thing I think about getting booked outside of like money and like politics or anything like that. But like if their show doesn't have what you offer, they should they should be inclined to bring you onto the show. But if they already have a guy who's the military guy or the suplex guy or whatever, and he's over, I mean, cool, let him have it. But like I always tell young guys, 'cause I see a lot of guys at school now that are all like, oh, I'm gonna throw suplexes too. And I remember one guy said, "Oh, I can throw suplexes too. You're not special." And I'm like, "Dog, if you think that it was the suplexes that got me over, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. It's not. I always tell people it's not the suplexes that got me where I am. I mean, it's definitely like a plus or whatever because I look like I can do it. Like everything about my presentation makes sense. It looks like I should be tossing people. Um, but that's not what got me over. I think it's my theme. It's my theme music, not the new one, but the one that I'm using, the one that was using coming in, and then also like just like my presence, like I'm comfortable in the ring, like I'm comfortable. You can see that I'm comfortable. Um, and I really just told you I'd be out there just having fun, dog. Like I mean I take wrestling seriously, but like I don't take it so seriously that that's a detriment to me. Like bookers will be like, "Oh, can you put somebody over?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can put somebody over. I don't give a shit." I mean, I'm gonna control how it happens because, like, you still gotta protect your character, in a sense. Like the way MOW is building me up, I can't just be going under to like uh, John Smith, who's just been wrestling for a year, or whatever, clean. But like, I ain't got no problem with that shit. Like, I'm still gonna get over, and I'm still gonna get paid.
I feel like that's one of the biggest things too. Is like I know like anybody asks something of me, like I'm just willing to handle that because it's like why why am I going to be sitting here like freaking out like oh my god like you want me to lose to this guy? Oh, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Like in my mind, like I'm not going to do it, and then I'm going to politic in the back to try to get something changed. I'm like,
Hmm.
listen, dude, like I did catch some heat at a promotion because this promoter, right, I know I'm gonna catch heat again. He put the title on himself, right? And it was after
I
my
hate that. I hate that so fucking much. That's the worst thing about professional wrestling. How are you going to book a show but also put the belt on yourself? Like, I get it. Every having a championship belt is cool. It's amazing. It's a great feeling. But like unless you're like the most over person on the show, which nine times out of ten, the booker is not the most over person on the show, or at least not over in the right way. Like you don't need the belt on you. You don't need the belt on you. I hate that. You have the book and you're putting the belt on yourself. You're
oh,
overcompensating for something. But
I'm gonna catch
continue.
yeah, I'm gonna catch it so bad. I'm okay with this. So anyway, person put the title on themselves, right? And like it was like I guess because it's a newer promotion, right? And like the way the story was kind of building up, like sure, it kind of made sense ish, right? We can talk more about it offline. You can debate that. We'll debate that later. But anyway, they put the title on themselves, right? And they wanted to run with it, and it's just I got heat for it because the way the story lined up, right? The thing is if you go back and look at the social media presence that they put out there, which we'll hop into that too. Uh, they were talking about like on their own personal Facebook page that they have their students, right? And they're showing pictures of the students. But if you watch the matches that he's having, it's against all of his students. And I
Hmm.
was like, this is very May Youngish, right? And I
Hmm.
was kind of laughing about it. So, as a character, I cut a promo and I legit was pointing at like pointing up at my screen. I was like, "You have said this, and you have done this, and this, and this, and now you have this championship match against this person." And yeah, and I put it out there. I was like, "Yo, like you think that you're the good guy in this story, but you're not the good guy. You're clearly the bad guy trying to portray a good guy." And I was like, as a mercenary myself, I know my share of good guys and bad guys, and you are clearly a bad guy, and I'm going to show you. And I dropped it. I put it on my character's page
Mhm.
and just let it rip. And man, like that promoter came back in my DMs, chewed me out, was telling me about how like, there's a professional way to do things that you need to like you have to say certain things and you have to run it by people just to make sure you're not fucking with storylines and this, that, and the other. And I was like, bet, my bad. And like I apologized to him and we kind of like I don't know. I pushed it under the bridge. I don't know if
Mhm.
they have, but yeah, I was like, and next thing I know is that they came back and they're like, "Hey man, like I kind of want to run this story with you and see how things are going, and maybe we'll have a title match in January of next year." And I was like, I don't want to be a dick about it, right? I very much appreciate it, but I was like, dude, y- everybody kept trying to tell me they're like, you're one of the most over people at this promotion, while this guy who's the booker, they're like, he's over too. And I was like, is he though? Like, I don't want to ask the question like that. I don't want to be a dick about it. But I was like, if I was listening to different pods, like based on their matches that they put out in my matches that I listened to, I'm like, I don't really see anything like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
it's cool. And if they turn around after this interview, they turn around and tell me that they're not wanting to use me no more, I understand.
Mhm.
But like, it is one of those things where I was just like, bro, like, you're trying to justify something to me that I just don't see. Like,
Mhm.
not that I'm disrespectful about it, but I just don't see it yet. And I'm like, I would love for you to explain to me how it came to this point. When my trainer was the person who held the title, and the moment that my trainer who missed one show all of a sudden had to like he relinquished it, and then you put the title on yourself and ran with it. I was like, I would love to you show me how you came to that conclusion.
Like if it like when Triple H did it, like it it made sense. He's the authority or whatever. Like, and he's title hungry or whatever. And you know this from over the years of watching Triple H's character. So that's definitely something Triple H would do. But he didn't just do it to be like selfish. He did it to who did he end up dropping? Was it he ended up dropping was it when he dropped it to Daniel Bryan? Or was that when he ended up getting
I thought the authority issue like that angle wasn't that
was that Seth?
no, it was Roman.
It was
Was
Roman.
it Roman?
Okay. I don't know. It was one of those three. It was either Seth, Daniel, or Roman. It was one of the three or whatever. I'm not a wrestling historian. Um, but
Someone's gonna write in a comment.
someone's gonna be like, "Oh, how did you not know that?"
Yeah,
Fucking
everyone knows
know.
that.
Um, but he did it. He did it to elevate somebody else. Like if you're not trying, if you're a booker and you do that, like it has to be to help get somebody else over or to help elevate somebody else. It can't just be I'm a booker. I'm gonna put the belt to myself, and then I'm gonna run with it for years and years and years and not put anybody over or not get anybody over. That's the problem most of the time. Or like when bookers the booker will put the belt on himself and then they'll just play him and his friends on the show will play hot potato with the belt. And it's just like what's being accomplished here? What's being accomplished here?
And the thing is though is that I've had other people kind of like talk to me about it because I was frustrated right when I first saw this happen, and it got brought up to me that because like the program and I'll kind of put shed some light to it, but when the promotion is so new, they wanted they wanted a face to chase the heel, which
Hmm.
makes sense. I understand that, um, but the way like things were kind of being built up, it was just kind of scattered. But according to like another person who I was talking with, they're like the reason why the title went on this person was because it the promotion to be a run out of the hometown, right?
Hmm.
And they wanted like the hometown hero to kind of be that person. And I was like, I kind of see that, but it was like I felt like there was other people that were like should have been like in that opportunity, at least in that
Deserving of that
opportunity.
spot.
Yeah,
Deserving of the
because
spot, yeah.
when you show me that you have four people in a tournament, right?
Hmm.
And one is the booker, uh, one is a person who's debuting on the show, right? Debuting in the main event. I'm gonna even put that out there. The other person is the former number one contender, and he's losing to another guy who just lost, like
Mhm.
the
Oh,
show
yeah.
before. It's like, yo, but you have these four guys, and I was like, but you're not really like, and I get it because it's independent wrestling, right? And I get that part that like you want to get with those guys who are going to be consistent, but if you're not like, if you're only picking like, all right, the top two guys are going to go through, and
Mhm.
then it just looks funny because then in the background, as I'm looking at your Facebook page, you have literally put it out there. I'm booking this card for this show,
Mhm.
and then the next post is, oh man, I'm being presented with one of the biggest matches of my life, and then you're
Oh,
like,
that's
but you
weird.
you're kind of like you're pulling back
You're
the curtain a little too much. Like you're like,
Mhm.
you're out there, you're just like telling people like I booked this card and now I'm competing for the biggest match of my life. And like I get you're trying to get like the crowd, like the hometown, right, to be involved with what's going on. But it's like, dude, if you had just put that first post out there and you would have left this post, like it would have made 100% sense. Like you're working. You so are building the show that you
Mhm.
don't have to tell people that. You're telling people like, I'm working towards this match. I'm working towards this. I'm doing this. Like,
Mhm.
cool. Build yourself up. I get that part. But as like to the boys in the back, we're all watching you like, why did you tell people that you were in charge of this? Why did you tell people that you were doing this? Because now,
Mhm.
like my character, who's a complete asshole, is like, you have done this and this and
Mhm.
this and this and this and this. And like, and I'm throwing a whole wrench in your plan. And you're just like, and then I get chewed out in
Mhm.
a DM because I was like, oh wow.
I mean, I mean, people always say they want more promos or whatever. I mean, yeah, you could run it by them or whatever,
Could
but
have.
like, man, I don't know. I
It
feel
was
like,
it was a tough decision. But you know
yeah.
what? The funny thing was, essentially, it did its job. Like I'm actually cool with that promoter, like offline as well as online. And I did step on their toes, and I will be honest, I did. So I kind of deserve the heat a little bit.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, like my whole point was like, dude, the way you booked the show just like kind of like was like all over the place, and you're not even establishing yourself. Like if you establish yourself, I would 100% be like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. But because it's like A to C to B to F, and we're not even talking about what's going on with E. It's like, we gotta backtrack this. And so I just try to like zone everything back in so that the person, like, even though I caught heat for it, there's a storyline now being built up to what's gonna eventually happen down the road. If it's still the plan. It might change. So hard subject to change all the time. But the re the reason I kind of like actually want to talk to you, we kind of hit on it a little bit before we like jumped into it, because one of those things that it did is it got me a little bit of notoriety with the promotion that I was trying to work on, right? So it's like, how did you like? Because obviously, like your name, your theme song, everything that you had going on, right? This brand that you were building. What, where do you think that that notoriety came in? Like all of a sudden, people started recognizing, like, oh, that dude, we got to get him on the show. I think your mic went out. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
There it is.
Okay. I accidentally hit the mute button. Sometimes because it doesn't show up on the screen, so I don't
Right.
know if it worked or not. But okay, yeah, it works. Okay, cool. Um, I think I think some of it definitely has to. I think most of it has to do with having like the branding, like having custom music that had my name in it. It was catchy. I think that's the thing that like most people latched onto first. Um, and then like everything as far as like my presentation goes, my gear, what I got on my feet or whatever, like how I act, like it all it all makes sense. It's I'm not like, oh, I'm the suplex assassin or whatever, but all of my moves are like ranas and like high flying stuff or whatever, and I don't throw any suplexes. Um, so like I think one of the things is like everything that has to do with me makes sense. It's easily digestible. Um, uh, I'm not rigid so much. Like I like to have layers to my character. Sometimes I'm super serious. Sometimes I'm fun. I try to be funny. Um, sometimes I can be vulnerable. I can be sad. I can be all of these things, and it's not just like, oh, okay, I'm rigid this match, I'm funny this match. Like, it's ever changing. It's really dynamic in the performances that I have. And then I feel like having solid basics uh will take you a lot farther than having like doing a bunch of crazy shit. Um and then like also like my character, like I wrestle within my character psychology. Um and I try to stick it within that as much as I possibly can. So I only do things that make sense for what my character would do. I feel like a lot of guys get away from that. They'll um, they'll do things that are unnatural to like what their character's archetype is. Like, you're not gonna see me hit a frog splash off the top rope. I can do it, but you're not gonna see me do it. Um, I'm a power technician, as somebody put it. Like, and then that's what I'm gonna do, technical shit. I'm gonna do powerful shit or whatever. And like I feel like that's something that people like to see. And then also, I think around the time that I was coming up, like I was getting to the point to where like people wanted like wrestlers or whatever. And I embody that. Like, I'm a wrestler, get in there, shoot on you, do a couple takedowns, stuff like that. Um, so, and then also my rise really came when the pandemic, uh, it was, it was kind of like, it was after the shutdown. And then like in that period where you could do like shows with like limited people, so like people had to watch this if they wanted to watch wrestling, because there wasn't a whole lot of wrestling going on at the time. So the spotlight was on me, or on wherever I was, because I was trying to be at all the places that had the spotlight, that had the streaming, and stuff like that. And then charisma is a huge thing. Presence is a huge thing. Being able to command a room, being able to get a room, or a crowd to respect you, your work, and pay attention to you. Um, and I don't know exactly how. Um, I guess like how to like coach somebody in that. I think it's one of those things where you either have it or you don't. Um, but I may be wrong. I may be wrong. Um, I may be wrong. Um,
Cause this and something for me, like, and I'll be transparent with everybody that's here, right? I go to other people like all the time, and obviously like that's how you're gonna grow in this business, is if you're asking, right? And I've had lots of people like go through and look through my footage and stuff like that and tell me like, yo, they like this, they like that, right? I've changed like I don't want to say I've changed a bunch of stuff, because I've changed things, right, to make sense, right? Because like
mhm,
obviously we're still like in this world where they're trying to pull like feelings and stuff. But some people have hit me up and they're like, yo, we want to see you do more like custom gear, right? So we want you to have, and I have custom tights already, but I'm like, all right, so we'll change the look up a little bit and just see if I can change this. And so I have new gear getting made. Custom music, right? Something else I've talked about, or you've talked about, and something I've kind of like reverbed off of. I've gone to a person, I'm like, yo, like I'm thinking about doing this kind of music. Can you help me out with XYZ? And they're like, yeah, bet, I got this. What kind of beats are you looking for? And obviously like trying to redesign that.
mhm,
Um, so the look has always been getting changed, or not always getting changed, but looks getting added to. Custom music, obviously. Eventually, like, I'm gonna also make my own Titantron kind of video with my
mhm,
new custom music, because I feel like that's something like a lot of promoters are starting to see and like, because I've seen that now at a couple different shows where they'll have like a projector screen and they
mhm,
have like custom Titan music, which is cool, and I want that too. So and I know I can make that, because that's what I do now. But it's one of those things where I like, and I try to include the podcast too. Some people are like, well, what else can you bring to the show? I'm like, well, I have this podcast that I like promote people's shows on all
mhm,
the time, and I promote other wrestlers. And they're like, oh, and I was like, and promoters can come promote their shows. So it's always like, always using like the platforms and trying to show like, hey, I can do this, this, and this, and I have this ability to have that ability. I make a lot of the graphics that like fight cards that I have.
mhm,
I've started like learning how to do that better and making new graphic cards like all the time. So it's like trying to like make myself more versatile so
Hmm.
that promoters can use. But I'm
More
like,
valuable.
yeah, that's what I think that's important, right? And I'm like, so I'm still, and I know like a lot of people are like, just be patient. Your time will come, just be patient, and things are gonna happen the way they're meant to happen. And I was like, but I'm such a big grinder, like, and I have a lot of friends that are all gonna say the same thing, right? They're like, he's one of the hardest working people that we know. And I'm like, but there's levels to this, and I know
Hmm.
there's levels, and so I'm trying to get to that next level, right? Like working out with another wrestler that we both are familiar with. Uh, yeah, I was like, damn, like this person works out like this 3 times a week. I was like, I don't know if I could do that, but I'll
Hmm.
definitely modify this so that I can elevate this, right? It's tough.
Um, as far as like trying to like elevate yourself, one thing I kind of learned from O'Shea and the student Scott Hensley, he books the Scenic City Invitational and the Future Showcase, is like you gotta get out to those shows that have that solid fan base that are streaming, like IWTV shows, like shows that are on IWTV that have a good Twitter presence will help you out tremendously, because people are going to watch those shows. They're going to watch them when they're live streaming, or they're going to go back and they're going to watch them. They're going to tweet about it. And as much as people will try to stay away from like social media and stuff, like wrestling is on Twitter, that's where it's at. So like I would try, if I were a young guy, like I try to get on there, try to be active on there. And it doesn't have to be super rigid, all wrestling stuff. Make sure you do post wrestling content on there, because that's what most people follow you for. But like you can still be a person on there. Um you can be in character, or you can be you. Um because that's kind of what we are as professional wrestlers. Like we're not like actors where like they play a role and then they're like on to the next. It's like you are this character or whatever. So you gotta flesh it out or whatever. You gotta flesh out that character. The best as you can. I just tell guys, like, if you have any like shitty views, keep that shit to yourself. Also work on that so you can unlearn
Yeah.
that shit, but keep that shit to yourself. Don't post any of that stuff. But like I always like I haven't done it in a few months, but like I always get on there, like maybe I'll ask a question or whatever that I think a lot of people would answer, or I'll say something funny. Like I think like I think one of the tweets that I made, that probably got like the I guess the most engagement was like I said that uh what was it? Cracker Barrel's a Jim Crow Applebee's or whatever. That shit, the first time I've posted it twice, but the first time, like, that shit went nuts. Like that shit went nuts. I got a lot of followers from that. I got a lot of eyes from that. And then also to remember, like if you have any kind of like buzz to your name, the people, like WWE, AEW, all of these people are watching. They're watching you or whatever. So as long as you don't say anything crazy or anything super offensive, you'll be fine. But they are watching. They are paying attention. They're just not going to let you know that they're there.
I tell people like I was saying this. Actually, this was a couple weeks ago. I said this because I forgot who I was talking with, but we were talking about momentum, right?
Hmm.
That you just build. Oh, it was Andino. Andino, I was talking with. Sorry, Andino. We were talking about momentum, and I remember like going right to my Twitter and going to my Facebook page and just putting up the word of the year is momentum, because that's all I'm thinking about. It's just like, how do I build momentum and how do I keep the momentum going? So I'm like, all right, let me get more active on social media. Let me get more active on Twitter. Let me get more active on my TikTok. Let me
Hmm.
get more active like on like IG. Let me start posting more stuff, right? Whether it's like my gym content where like I put up like the workout of the week, or I'm posting stuff for the 3 Count podcast, or I'm posting stuff up that's wrestling related, whatever it is. Like it's just trying to get people to notice and look and then be like, why is he doing all this? Right. Because that's all it is at the end of the day. I just want people to look and be like, all right, we see him now and we need to pay attention because he's trying to do something. And I think that's what's important is that like I want that look because I want people to know like, hey, yo, like I'm on the move, and if you guys need to keep watching because it's shit's gonna blow up eventually.
Um, like I think I don't know if I said this on air or if I said this before, but like um try to get in with try to build a relationship with the bookers or whatever that have like taken a chance on you. Like Matt Griffin at Action Wrestling, he took a chance on me, and it's paying off for him, and it's also paying off for me. Um, but like with him, like when I first started there, he was like, "Do you have a list of people you want to wrestle or whatever?" And I sent him a list, and he's done his darndest to get me at least most of those opponents, or he'll send that list to other promotions that he's friends with that I also work with or whatever, and they'll try to get me those opponents. Um, because like again, it's not about how many times you wrestle, it's about who you wrestle. So if you could get in there with O'Shea, like that would be like the greatest learning experience of your fucking life. I can guarantee you. I thank that man every day for making me who I am. Because that match meant a lot to me. Um, but like if you can get in there with guys who are better than you, iron sharpens iron. So that's how you're gonna get better. Also, always be open to critiques, and then always ask all the questions that you have. To like if you're like if anytime I'm in a locker room with Jonathan Gresham, I'm asking him something or whatever, or I'm trying to have a conversation with him, which is really easy because he's a really cool guy. Um, Davey Richards, Shug Dunkerton. If you get a rapport with Shug, like you good, because that man is so knowledgeable. He has helped me out with so many things. He'll make you work for it, but he's extremely knowledgeable. It's like they always say it's not about. I think it's not about what you do. It's about who you know. And like in wrestling, like that that's so true. Like that's so true. It's about who you know, what knowledge you have access to. But I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
It's funny you bring that up, right? Because it's like I always feel like I'm one link away from like the next person, right? Not that it's a problem, because I definitely enjoy all the connections that I make, right? But how you brought it up, right? Like, if you can get with Suge, right? Like you can be, like, you can get there, and I'm like, I know so many of people around his circle, and it's like one day I'm gonna breach this and I'm gonna get there. And I was like, Suge, like I've reached out to this man on like numerous occasions. I'm like, I will eventually get to this. I was like, I don't know when. One day he's gonna stumble on something I'm just gonna put out there, and he's gonna be like, "What's up?" And I'll be like, "Got it," because I definitely I know I listened to his like he did like he was just talking in a spaces one time on Twitter, and I was just listening, and I was just listening to like the advice. Like three of my favorite guys to listen to. I like listening to Tyree Taylor. I love anything that Shane Taylor has to talk about, and then Isaiah Wolf. And I sit back and I listen to those guys talk, and they were I know Isaiah and Tyree were laughing because I sent them pictures of my notebook. And I was literally, as they were just like BSing, I was just writing stuff down, like everything that they were talking about. And I found it important. So I took a picture of it and I sent it back to them. And they're like, "This is funny that you legitimately just sat back and just listened to us and just started writing notes." And it's like, because it's important. I was like, if you're saying it, something's going to come out of this and it has to be important. I'm just going to write down everything that I'm listening to and just take notes. And I feel like I've learned a lot, right? Both because of like the podcast and obviously just like being around people and not really talking, just like listening and just writing.
Hmm.
And every once in a while, I catch people always say something to me, and they're always like, "What are you writing down in that notebook?" And I was like, "Oh, well, you said this, this, and this." And they're like, "Oh, well, let me elaborate on that." And I'm like, "All right, cool." And then I'm just writing more stuff down
Hmm.
eventually. But I think that's it. I don't know, man. It's weird because like I know I'm still building rapport. I do I do want to see, all right, anybody who watches this and knows me, if you're a promoter, ask me my top list because I definitely will get you the guys that I want to work. Because I have a top 10, and I think I have like a top 25 of people that want to work. not just this year too, and I
Hmm.
can't wait for next year. But yeah, I enjoy uh, looking at it and then like writing off the list of names, um, and learning from those guys because it's important. Because I know all those guys that I put in that list are in my top 10,
Hmm.
and they know that they're in my top 10. Like I've even put it out on Twitter that these are the guys that want to work in 2022. So it's definitely I can't wait to see like that list get knocked out more and more.
Hmm. I always tell guys because I always see people post like lists of people that want to wrestle, and it's like, yeah, it's cool to post it, because like especially if you can like tag the people in it, because like then they know like, oh yeah, definitely anytime anywhere, like you always get those responses. But I think it's more productive to just send it to a promotion that you work for. That's where it comes in, like building that rapport with the promoter. Just send it to the promoter. Be like, hey, if especially if like if you're kind of in limbo, you're just having matches on the show, just like, hey, this is I want to work this person, bring this person in. um and if it works out like monetarily and stuff wise, because it's still a business, like yeah, you'll get that opponent. And then if not, you just won't. But like a lot of these promotions, um they got to understand like quality talent isn't cheap. Like now, if someone's charging exorbitant amounts of money and they're not worth that, then cool, say no. But like me personally, I'm not working for $20. I'm not gonna do it at this point in time, or whatever. If you would have caught Alex Kane like year one, maybe. But like now, because I know what I'm worth and I know what I bring to the table, so like, and like I used to always feel like so weird about it, like asking for like anything over 100, um, just because I was like, I don't want to do it. But like when you realize that you're a business and that this is a business, and like you're not for everywhere. Like you don't belong in every single show in the world. Like then you start to like really put things together, like, okay, look, like this is my rate or whatever, because a lot of people don't stick to their rates, which is also really really annoying. But like you find your rate, you find what you're worth, you find what you bring to the table, and you present that every time. If they don't take it, cool, move on to the next. If they do take it, great, you have a business relationship and you continue to work from there. But you got to know your worth, because if you don't, people will take advantage of you.
I like that. I like that. So listen, I so normally, like like we had the 3 count podcast and we had the 10 count questions on now entering 101. But on 201, we have one of my new up and comings, which I love. We borrowed it from another show that we had, which was called Returning to the Ring, that we no longer have. Anyway, we have what's called pin, submit, and DQ. And here's how it works. I'm gonna fire off either through wrestlers, through cartoon characters, through whatever, and you got to pin one, you got to submit one, and you got to DQ one.
Okay, I'm down.
So we're gonna take this first right off the jump. I definitely want to see this because we're gonna start off with uh one Darius Carter. Okay, we're gonna go into O'Shea Edwards, and then last but not least, we're gonna do one of my other favorite people, Keith Lee.
Okay. All right. Pin Keith Lee, because that's the biggest name on the list. That's gonna give me the most notoriety. Um, submit Darius Carter, because professionally, even though I like him, his character is annoying as fuck. Um, and he beat me. He kicked me in the nuts, and then he gave me his finisher, but he kicked me in the nuts, and that's the important part. And then DQ O'Shea, because I like O'Shea.
So our next one that we're gonna go into, uh, this is gonna be wild. So we're gonna start with Dexter's Laboratory. We're gonna go with Eddie from Ed, and Eddie,
Okay.
and then last but not least, Shaggy from Scooby Doo.
Okay. Okay. Pin Dexter. Uh, submit Shaggy, and then DQ Eddie.
I was gonna go with Single D, but hey, like that Ed is just ridiculous. Like he's got some ridiculous things going on with him. So like I can't do this one. All right, so our last one is definitely gonna be another fun category, and people will relate to this one, right? Because it's kind of a fresh thing. We gotta go with Tom Cruise, Ryan Reynolds, and then Hugh Jackman.
Submitting Tom Cruise, uh, pinning Ryan Reynolds, and DQing Hugh Jackman. Played Wolverine, dog. We all love Wolverine.
Wolverine. I was like, and Deadpool can handle it. Like, I don't
Yeah.
see why not. All right, bet. Well, that's submit, pin, and DQ. And the last thing I have though is Alex, man. Let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you once again.
Follow me on Twitter at Alex_Kane11. What is it? What am I on Instagram now? Am I still the real Alex Kane one? I think I'm still the real Alex Kane one. Yeah, follow me on Instagram, real Alex Kane one. TikTok, throwing bodies. YouTube, I'm on there, Alex Kane. Buy my merchandise, brainbustertees.com and MOWshop.com. MOW New York is happening next week, actually, and from the Melrose Ballroom, Queens, New York. It's going to be fire. It's going to be nuts. The Battle Riot 4, Boomay Fight Club will dominate the Battle Riot, and you will see me or Thomas go on to face Hammerstone for the world title.
And there you have it. So y'all know what this means. This means that we're gonna do like every part of a wrestling match. Go home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering 201. And you see the man right next to me, the suplex assassin, Alex Kane. He is the man, the myth, the legend, and he is currently your MLW National Open Weight Champion and soon to be MLW World Champion. That's right. So you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you just wait for this episode to end. You wait for that outro, and then you choose another episode to listen to. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dawg Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. At ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3 Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So, show us some support, please.